Hello, I'm Juletta, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about my project and answer some questions. The first one is, tell us a bit about your latest project and what inspired you to start this project, and what were you trying to explore and create, and how did you attempt to do this? My latest project was a joint album with Ishan, who's my boyfriend and also a fellow New York-based artist. It's a concept album based off or inspired by interviews with women in New York City. And my idea was to interview strangers that I met in New York and take the stories that they shared with me and turn them into songs. This idea formulated around the time that I was just moving to New York from the small town where I grew up, and I was immediately just captivated by the sheer density and diversity of people. And it's simple, really. I just wanted to learn more about the people that I was interacting with and passing by every day. And I was also looking to contextualize and understand myself further. I had moved to New York kind of on a whim, I guess, and probably for some, culturally imposed fantasy of New York City. And I, always loved the idea of the city, but didn't really know exactly what I was doing there, what I was hoping to find there. And so I think through the process of meeting people who lived there and interviewing the women who represented the city, I was seeking to understand myself a little bit better and understand what I was doing there. I chose to interview women because I've long been inspired by the women in my family. My artist name, Juletta, is my great-grandmother's name, who I only met once as a baby, and all stories sort of start and end with her. She's kind of like the start of my family as I know it now. And from her to my Grammy, her daughter, and to my mom and my sister, that's kind of how the music has been passed down. And they're all very important to me and central to who I am as a person. Musically, this project really developed through me and Ishan's collaboration. He comes from a different musical background than I do. He grew up listening to Kanye and Michael Jackson, and I grew up with a lot of alt rock bands like the Counting Crows that I would listen to with my dad, and the Beach Boys and the Dixie Chicks as well were huge for me. And kind of the music was inspired by the collision of our worlds, and so it kind of took on a folk electronic identity, but that was definitely subconscious for us. It wasn't intentional necessarily. It was just whatever we were subconsciously putting out, and that's what it turned into. It's a 12-song project, and each song has bits and pieces of the interviews, as well as my story, kind of weaving it all together throughout. Great. Second question. How has being a female songwriter, singer, and artist affected your experience in the music industry? Would you have any advice for young women trying to break into the music industry as singer-songwriters? Well, first of all, being female is powerful, and I definitely find a lot of strength in that identity. Yeah, women are powerful. If I had any advice for women coming into the industry, it would be that discipline and hard work always speak for themselves ultimately, and it's important to develop your craft and your confidence about your craft and vision, so that no one can knock that. And for girls especially, I've found it's almost assumed that you have less of a developed vision or developed sound, and it seems more malleable, but I think there's a lot of strength in knowing what you want and what you want to say, and sticking to that. And it's good to be flexible, but it's also really, really powerful to know what you want.
She tells me to give myself away, and now